Howdy ho, guys and gals, it's Red, your friendly neighborhood tool bear, back again here in the old den of tools, and today we're talking more emissions craziness coming out of California. Now, you may have seen a site like this once or twice in your life. It looks like your typical DUI checkpoint or something like that, except it's not. This is a random smog test facility in California. Now, these are a thing. They've been going on for a little while now, and honestly, having lived in California, I get it. I understand why. They have some of the worst smog ever. It has to do with how many cars are there, the climate, and the way the mountains like ring the cities and stuff. You can get some really bad air, which is why California has some of the strictest emission laws in the country, if not the strictest. Now, that said, they keep ramping things up over there. Last year, they started saying that they were going to start requiring twice yearly emissions testing. Now, this was for large vehicles over 14,000 pounds for commercial trucks. Well, CARB, that's the emission standards group for California. They recently phased in the most recent version of this, and that is starting on January 1. They're going to start phase 1. Now, this will apply. This is their heavy-duty inspection and maintenance program. And if you think this is just commercial vehicles, you're wrong. They say it plain as day. It will apply to all heavy-duty trucks, buses, agricultural equipment, and personal motorhomes with a gross vehicle weight over 14,000 pounds. Now, we're going to talk about that 14,000 pounds here in just a minute. And it says, and it talks about whether they're traveling in the state regardless of where they're registered. Now, understand that. Traveling in the state regardless of where they're registered. Now, there's some back and forth on this. Let's talk about this. So, phase 1 is they're going to do random testing. That starts next year. Phase 2, which starts the middle of next year, is going to require all heavy trucks, and this including motorhomes and everything else, to be registered with CARB and obtain a certificate of compliance from the state. This is in 2024. They're going to need to be inspected twice a year. In 2027, you are going to need to have your vehicle inspected 4 times a year. Not just commercial. Nothing about this says just commercial vehicles. Motorhomes, they've spelled it out. In fact, even if you're traveling from out of state, they're going to require 4 times a year inspection. oh my gosh. Now, we talked about the weight. Now, a lot of people think 14,000 pounds, that's those little rolling mini mansion, the Class A diesel pushers and stuff like that. No, I'm sorry. We're talking this right here. This is the best-selling motorhome currently in the U.S. This is your average Class C motorhome. It's a Leprechaun by Coachman. And I just looked at their specs, and Coachman doesn't make a Leprechaun now that comes in under 14,000 pounds. They have floor plans that say they do, but everything they're currently selling is at 14,000 pounds or greater. That means your average motorhome, Class C motorhome, is going to come in over that spec and need to be inspected by 2027 4 times a year. Now, what about out of state? Now, when they originally wrote this, and as I just read to you, it says it doesn't matter if you're out of state. And they said this, and the industry flipped out, okay? And at first they said, okay, well, we'll do a 72-hour, a 3-day exemption. If you're just passing through, we'll let you slide. That's so generous of them. But the businesses and stuff got up in arms, and they're not going to listen to the people, but the business started yelling at them. So a month later, they came back and they said, okay, out-of-state motorhomes are exempt. Well, that's what they said in April, but we just clearly read that it said it didn't matter regardless of where they're registered and if they're traveling in the U.S. or in California. So which one is it going to be? Because here's the thing about CARB. CARB gets their powers assigned to them by law. And basically the way California writes these laws is, hey, this group, go and make some rules, and whatever rules you make, they're law. And that allows that group to go out and, gives them a lot of jurisdiction. And on top of that, they can change it at a moment's notice, and they have before. Now, this is now you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, how's this going to affect me? I mean, yeah, California also just banned gas cars. We know how all that's going. Right after they banned gas cars, said everyone should go electric. Then they have brownouts and you can't charge your electric car, yada, yada, yada. Well, here's the bad news, all right? Many states, when California, this happened decades ago, when California first started passing this whole lower emission, zero emission vehicle thing, a bunch of states said, hey, that's a great idea. We don't want to come up with our own rules, so we're going to write trigger laws so that when you pass a new law, you being California in this case, when you do that, then our laws will automatically change up to a certain point. Right now, we're looking at 14 states that are basically just entirely on board. Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington are all at some degree of, yep, we're going this route, it's going to happen, or it's likely to happen. Now, some of them may back out. They may pass laws that pull them out of it. You never know what's going to happen. I'm stunned that Illinois isn't in there somehow with Chicago and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is, this is not going to be just in California. This is going to be, as they say, so goes California, so goes the country. Well, and we've talked about this before when we reported on the gas-powered generators and leaf blowers and lawnmowers and stuff like that, and we're seeing bans across the country. Maybe not statewide, but often community, city, and county-wide. And again, California does this, and they're like, that's a fantastic idea. We should do that as well. Well, question then, a lot of us, like myself, this is my truck here, my 3,500 one-ton Cummins diesel. What is California going to say about this? Well, currently, the curb weight on something like this is around 7,000 pounds. So I'm well under that 14,000 pound rating. But I went back and I looked at these laws because here's what you need to realize. These are just current regulations that are being adopted to comply with laws that were passed in the 2010s and in the 2000s. They passed these laws years ago going, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to make these ridiculous, rules that sometime in the future you won't even have to deal with it. We're going to have all these low emission, zero emission kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Those days are coming, and I've seen the list, and vehicles like this are on the list. Now, they're further out, and they haven't yet come out with the rule compliance on what they're going to be, but you can bet your bottom dollar that if California can make a buck off of it, they're going to pass a rule regulating it. Now, remember, this is the state that still stops you at the border coming in to check for fruit. How much of a leap is it to guess that one of these lanes is going to be converted to one of these emissions testing facilities to test you as you enter the state? I'm not trying to run around screaming, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, but it's pretty clear when they wrote this, their idea was, yes, it would apply to out-of-state vehicles. The only thing that stopped them was the industries, the RV industries throwing a hissy fit. Well, the way California typically does it is they go, okay, we won't do it now. But they're going to put it on a timeline. There's going to be a time at some point here in the foreseeable future where I see this as being norm. You come in the state, and you got to hook up your tailpipe and prove that you're not, you're not going to be bringing in those nasty emissions with you. And if you do, you're going to pay a fine to do it. It's something that, take a look at what's going on in your state. If you've got more insight in one of the 14 states that we listed, put it down below. I'd love to hear the local stuff. I can only look up so much and do so much research. But anyway, I'd love to hear about what you think about this. And so have fun with it. Anyway, that's all the Bear has for you today. You all take care. God bless. And as always, shine on.